Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for your patience. We had a little technical difficulty, but we're here now, and we're so grateful that you joined us, and we are totally excited for this evening's conversation. We've got Charisa and Carmina joining us from CocoTherapy, as well as Julianne Lee. So tonight is going to last about an hour. We might go a little over. We'll see how in-depth our conversation gets. And I've got a little bit of an itinerary planned here for us. I'm hoping that we can chat about a few things, the basics of coconut oil. If you don't know, Chris and Carmina are the owners and founders of CocoTherapy. And tonight we'd like to talk about how to choose the best coconut oil for ourselves and our animals. We want to talk about why it's important to talk about and understand how coconut oil is made, the benefits that coconut oil can have in our lives, why sourcing counts when it comes to coconut oil, and how to properly use coconut oil in our animals and our own diets. And we were talking a little bit behind the scenes and hoping that maybe we could get into MCT oils, and we'll also take Q&A, of course. So shall we get started, ladies? What do you say?
Yeah. Let's get started.
And then I also have to say that we've been like pals for how long now?
Wow, I lost count with Violet. That's what I was telling Stephanie before we started this. Like, you were my rock with Violet.
That was how many years ago? Was that like?
Well, she passed away. It's been 5 years.
Yeah, I met her before.
Can you imagine?
But you knew her before she passed away.
And you helped me so I learned so much from you.
Same with Ollie, my cat.
And that's the best part about this, just the learning from like-minded people. Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, and I thought I knew about coconut oil until I met you guys. I know nothing about coconut oil.
I feel the same way.
I mean, it's confusing because a lot of people get, it's a strange fact. Let's just put it that way.
And when before anyone got on, we were talking about also about Jack, my pig, because I was trying to get him to eat coconut oil, and he wouldn't eat it because coconut oil is really good for pigs. And he was just a baby. He was just a little guy, and I was just introducing it to him, and he wouldn't touch it. And I was saying to these guys, he won't eat it. So then they sent me some of theirs, and it was like, I put a little bit in his dish. He wasn't very big at the time. Now he's like 250 pounds, but I put a little bit in his dish, and was like, oh, here we go again. He's not going to eat it. And I went back in to get, I think I was trying to just get oil into him. So I went back in, I think, to get flax oil or something. And I came back out, not only did he eat it, but his like snout was like almost stuck in the jar because I put the jar down on the floor. Like, wow, they are so, like, pigs are so smart, but he just knew. He's like, I'm not eating that stuff you're trying to give me.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aww. So there's definitely a difference. I mean, for people who have tasted it, and we've heard that from people, like they say, my cats don't really like coconut oil, or my dog doesn't. And then when they try our coconut oil, it's completely different. Mm-hmm. So they can definitely tell. So I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. So Steph, what was the first thing that you said? Sorry.
The first thing I was hoping we could talk about tonight was, how do we as consumers choose the very best coconut oil for ourselves and our animals?
Definitely, that's definitely a good question.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, it really is. But there is so many brands out there, obviously. You go to a grocery store, and that seems to be like the latest fad. I don't even want to say fad, but, within the last 10 years, I think it's just been booming. So there's just so many brands out there. And basically, it depends what you want to use it for. Frankly, I mean, there's coconut oil. You could use it for your skin or cooking. There's a lot of cooking oils out there. Most of the ones you buy at grocery stores are made for cooking, but then you do have therapeutic type of coconut oils that's made for therapeutic purposes. You can buy lauric acid pills, for example, or you can, so there's so many different kinds. There's RBD oil, which is refined, bleached, and deodorized RBD, that's chemically processed. Of course, there's virgin coconut oil. There's organic, non-GMO verified, fractionated. I mean, it's just so confusing for everybody. But didn't you go to the grocery store once?
Yeah,
and buy,
you know, I understand how, because I was just telling
Yeah.
Carmina, just last week, I went to the grocery store because I needed to buy olive oil, right? And I went, and there was just shelves and shelves of it. And then suddenly I knew what people meant when they said, how do I find the right coconut oil? I started looking at the bottles, and I was shocked because it'll say extra virgin Italian virgin
whatever
olive oil.
Yeah.
And I would look at it, and it'd say country of origin, Italy, Greece, Turkey, blah, blah, blah. So they would name literally 5 countries that olive oil came from. And I was like, whoa,
So I said Italian in the front.
Yeah. So even labels can be very deceiving. So I had to look at all of them, and it's very hard, I have to say, but I think what happens is you kind of do your research. If you have the label in front of you, for the first thing for coconut oil, we say get a glass jar. It should be glass.
That's probably the simplest advice.
Yeah. And then look at the
glass.
country of origin, because a lot of times they list multiple countries of origins, which we have seen. It'll say Philippines, Sri Lanka, and India. And then the thing about labels, the best thing to do, I always tell people, is contact the company and ask them for a certificate of analysis.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about if you're looking for an oil to help with your animal for therapeutic purposes.
Yes.
So I'm not talking about oil that if you want to saute fish or whatever, that's, the cooking grade ones, their lauric acid levels are usually about 40-45%, whereas ours is about 53. So if you're looking for an oil that will help for like allergies or yeast or just general inflammation,
immune system.
Yeah, I think you need to do your homework and ask the manufacturer, can I see your certificate of analysis? Can I see the levels of the medium chain fats that you find? Because that's really the easiest.
Yeah, that's important. That's important, because labels are so deceiving. You always see, and we see this all the time, like on Facebook, when somebody asks the question on a different thread, how do you find the best coconut oil? And then the answers typically range from make sure it's extra virgin, which actually in coconut oil means absolutely nothing.
There's no such thing as extra
virgin coconut oil. Unlike olive oil, the word extra virgin actually applies, because extra virgin means first press, and you can press olives more than once, but for coconut oil, you can't. You press it once and you're done. So extra virgin does not apply to coconut oil, but they use it all the time in marketing for labels. It looks good. And then the other thing too is they'll say, make sure it's cold pressed, but every coconut oil out there, you can see cold press. I mean, once in a while, I'll say expeller press, which is great, to being honest. But they'll say cold press in every label, because there's no USDA standards for the term cold pressed. Now, cold pressed technically means there's when you press the coconut, it doesn't generate heat above 250 degrees Fahrenheit. But for coconut oils,
when it does not.
It does not generate.
To like 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Fahrenheit.
Oh, sorry, 100. But expeller pressing generates heat 250 and above. So most oils, to get the bulk oil, especially, the most inexpensive way to get oil is expeller pressing.
Or to machine press.
Yeah, machine pressing. That always generates heat at 250 to 300. So technically, it's not cold press, and technically, it's really not raw, because the definition of raw or raw food is it can't be processed above 110 or 115 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the technical definition of raw. Anything above that is really not raw. So that's the other thing. So labels are deceiving in that way. And then the other thing people always advise is make sure it's organic. Now, obviously, when people buy organic, it's hard to tell. You look for that label, right? That USDA organic certified label. I mean, it's difficult to say. You have to trust that label. However, what people don't know is for agriculture products, such as coconuts, for example, as long as 90% of the coconuts are organic, even though if 10% are not organic, you can still legally put the USDA organic label on it. So, you may think, oh, what's 5 or 10% non-organic coconuts? It doesn't make a difference, but it actually does, because I mean, if you're using pesticides and hexane, and part of the coconut oil is actually refined using, you know, bleach or deodorized. Even if it's only 10%,
It does make a
it
difference.
makes a difference.
Yeah.
It definitely does. So, you know, that's,
Yeah, I think the smell and taste test is huge.
for us.
By looking
yeah.
at the bottle, it's really hard. But like you said, Julie, when your pig could tell the difference, you know,
Yeah.
between your old bottle and CocoTherapy.
Yeah.
And once you start to taste it, often you're going to start telling the difference, I
And
think.
smell too.
And smell.
Yeah.
Because,
It just tastes like coconut.
yeah.
Yeah.
Instead.
Surprise.
Yeah.
No, compared to like for me, like it doesn't taste like oil.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's
Yes.
it doesn't, like, you can, even if it's organic coconut oil and I taste it, I can taste almost like a refined oil.
Yep.
I don't even know how to describe it.
Yep. Yep.
Whereas with your stuff, it tastes like an oil, but it tastes like coconut.
Right.
Yes.
Like,
That's a
a lot of them don't taste like, believe it or not, it doesn't really smell and taste like coconut. It might a little bit, but not a lot.
right.
Yeah.
That's actually a great way of describing it, because a lot of the oils, first of all, when you get oils, a lot of coconut oil that comes into North America is considered broker acquired or private label. So you have brokers that bring in coconut oil for all over the world, right? And then they consolidate it in North America and they sell it off for different brands and they bottle it as different brands. That's about 95% of coconut oil is brokered that way. But there's probably less than 5% of coconut oil that's actually owner grown and manufactured. It's very rare to find a brand like that. If you can, that's great. It's fantastic if you can actually know where the coconuts come from, you know, which country, but which farm, and who processes it, because a lot of coconut oil processed obviously in Asia, you know, Philippines, Thailand, India, and a lot of these facilities will also process shellfish, and because that's, you know,
It's a
tropical country, and, you know, peanut. So you really have to think of the source, the coconuts that they harvest. A lot of them come from so many different farmers. You could have half the coconuts that these brokers buy could be organic and half are not.
Yeah.
And another thing that makes a difference too is the age of the coconut that is harvested. A majority of the coconuts harvested are harvested at about 6 months of age. So you have a coconut that's not fully ripened, tree ripened. Coconuts take a year to ripen. A year. But these countries go through hurricanes or typhoons, right? So the little farmers, they don't want their coconuts laying on the ground. They don't want to waste it. So they'll harvest it before typhoon season so that their coconuts and store them in a shed. But because coconuts spoil so quickly when they harvest them that young, they actually cut them open, scrape the meat out, and then they dry them out.
And then they reconstitute
and
it
then
later.
They're dried, so there's not as much spoilage, and then they store them in sacks in a shed, and then when it's time to process them into oil, they have to add water to it. So they'll add water to the dried coconut,
and then they
press that to make the milk and to get the coconut oil. So it's diluted with water. So there's a huge difference. And a lot of the times when there is typhoon, they will pick up the coconuts from the ground because, you know, to them it's a waste. It gets filtered anyway. It gets processed and bleached and deodorized anyway. So there's just all kinds of quality measures, the way it's made.
So I think just ask the company, if you want to call them, ask for the certificate of analysis, where the coconuts are from. Is it from one country or from one source? Just things like that. How traceable it is.
Traceability
is really huge. A lot of the oils, we have a lot number on our bottles, and that lot number is traceable. We always keep it in our facility, and you can trace it back 5 years. So we can test it. So if there's something wrong with that batch, we can totally trace it via the lot number. And a lot of the oils you see in the grocery stores, I look for it. I'm like, how do they trace the oil? How do they know where it's coming from? I don't see evidence of that. So I'm not exactly sure how they trace the coconuts back to the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Wow, that is totally mind-blowing. I've been making notes here. This is incredible. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
There's a couple comments here.
I have a question though. If you get a certificate of analysis, what should people be looking for? Like when you, especially when you were saying like lauric acid and things like that, like, and you know, medium chain fatty acids, like
Well,
yours like 53%, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Of
When
lauric
you
acid.
when you get a certificate of analysis, they also will list contaminants like heavy metals is important because coconut oil can have heavy metals.
The soil.
It can have salmonella and E. coli, believe it or not, because of the soil, the way it's processed as well. So there's traces of chemicals. So you will see contaminants in it as well. Some may have the fatty acid content, some may not. So I've actually called companies to ask for certificate of analysis. A lot of them, believe it or not, don't have it because it's not sold as a supplement.
A supplement.
It's a food.
Oh, right.
So if you're going to call like a peanut butter company and ask for a certificate, they'll laugh at you, you know, or, you know, some corn oil or soybean oil, they're going to say, well, certificate of what, you know, but if it's a therapeutic type of product that you're buying, yes, you can ask
like
call the
all of
company.
ours. Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
like CBD, I guess. You can get a certificate of analysis for CBD oil, for
but
example.
what's difficult, so I have actually been successful in getting some. It's very difficult to get a certificate of analysis, but when you look at them, it doesn't have the medium chain fatty acid content in it because the lipid analysis for coconut oil is something completely different. So sometimes it will, but very rarely you'll have to ask the company specifically for a
lipid breakdown.
Right. And you should ask them for a certificate of compliance as well, which tells you exactly how the coconut oil is processed. Is it processed via expeller pressing? Do they refine it a little bit?
Yeah, it's hard to get those.
That's almost impossible to get even. Yeah.
And when you say that there's, sometimes you look at the jars and there's more than one country of origin, or even on the jar it says from, like you said, like the olive oil, Italy, whatever, Greece and whatever it was. Does that's even harder than if it's coming from more than one place. It's even harder to be accountable for what's in that. Is that sort of what you're saying?
Yes, it's very hard. I know in the coconut oil industry, when a company, for example, brand XYZ brings in coconut, and coconut is a pretty tough commodity to get because it's not as readily as corn oil, where there's cornfields growing everywhere. So coconuts take so long, first of all, to mature. So they're picking them fast. It's very hard to supply. So brand XYZ, for example, a really big company, and they're selling all over North America. So what will happen is when they bring it in and buy it from different brokers, they may say, for example, all the oil we get from the Philippines, only sell it on the West Coast. All the oils we get from Sri Lanka, only sell it on the East Coast because there are differences in taste. So if you buy the brand of XYZ in California, it will probably, it could taste different
from the same brand in the East
that
Coast
you buy in, say, New York or whatever. And sometimes they will blend it depending on need. They might say, oh, that's why they will say in the bottle, country of origin, they'll list three
different.
So I think that would be really hard to trace for me. I'm just,
no, they can't. They can't trace
it's very hard to
Yeah.
trace.
But they can't trace it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like all foods, you know, it's very tricky.
It's like anything.
Yeah, it really is.
It's really too bad that it has to be like this, but it is. It's like that all the time. Like when you talk about mushrooms, or you talk about, you know, everybody thinks that medicinal mushrooms are all the same, and they're so different of like where they're grown and what they're mixed in. Even I'm learning a lot about them right now. Even the machines.
Yes.
Right? Like the machines that grind them down, like a lot of them, a lot of mushrooms that are out there shouldn't be powder. It just where's the enzyme? With the enzyme is what has all the medicinal properties, right?
Right,
So,
right.
but you don't know that, and then there's a gazillion things out there that are like that, and it's like a time and an age where we really have to do our homework.
Right.
Like, we really, really, really have to look at everything, because you know, even like holistic, is it really holistic, or is it a marketing tool?
Right. Yeah.
So the same with health food now, right? It's the same with health food and organic food, and everything is amazing for us. And when you really look at the ingredients, or understand how the processing works of getting it from where it's grown or where it's whatever to in that jar.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's
That's so
incredible.
true.
And you know what I've heard from people too is sometimes they will come to me and say this coconut oil is not working at all, or my dog is allergic to coconut oil. Oh my gosh, I can't give it. And granted, obviously, you can be allergic to everything, to whatever. Coconut oil is not an exception.
Yeah.
You can have allergies to coconut, but what happens is, and I've seen this, is they'll say, let me try it again. Like they're so afraid to try coconut oil for the animals, but then they try CocoTherapy and their animals are completely fine with it. So that tells me that there's probably some sort of solvents or some other chemicals that they use to extract the oil. So that's what their dog was reacting to, and not necessarily the coconut oil.
Or it could be contaminated with peanut oil, or or shellfish. Again, it could be cross contamination.
Where did they press it? In what factory? So it's really sad, because they're saying it doesn't work for my dog, or he's allergic to it, when in reality he wasn't. There's something in that oil that bothered him, and it's not necessarily the coconut oil or the MCTs.
Yeah,
because MCTs are found in mother's milk, so it's like the lauric acid, capric. I mean, that's mother's milk, so animals are used to that. You know what I mean? They can digest that saturated fat.
Right. But there was a it's funny that you said that, Julie, because it's sad that we all have to do our homework to learn about products because of marketing and just a sudden demand or boom of something, and all of a sudden the marketers come, and it's very hard to understand. But there's a show on Netflix, I can't remember the name.
Bring up that
I
show.
always bring it up because it really bothered me, because they showed like fake, and every week they had a different product that was faked. They had like fake honey, I mean, which will be real honey mixed with sugar, whatever, corn syrup, I don't know what. It's shocking. Even cod can be faked. Olive oil can be faked. Even coconut oil can be faked.
Fish can be faked. Like, oh my gosh, you might as well grow your own fish. Make your
and
own.
It's like, so how do you know? It makes you so paranoid. But the fact of the matter is, when you're getting olive oil or something that's so cheap, and I realize people are in a budget. I'm not saying that we should go out and buy the most, because sometimes the most expensive out there isn't even the best either.
Yes.
So it's so hard to tell. Yeah. But a lot of the times, because of this demand and the demand of oil and demand for the lower pricing, you'll have companies that will try to make it as affordable as possible. So they will blend it or mix it or dilute it with an inferior oil, or so that's the other sad part of it. Yeah,
it's great. Now I go to the grocery, I look at honey, and I'm like, are you really a honey, or are you mixed? I'm so suspicious of grocery store honey now, because that show traumatized me.
I know. Well, it's true. It is true. I think though, if we like try not, people have to try not to get overwhelmed.
Right.
Because it is pretty overwhelming. But I think what it does do though is it slows us down. So instead of being in the grocery store and like just flying through and just grabbing things and whatever, it makes us more, it almost makes us more conscious of what we're actually doing, right? Because going grocery shopping is just, I hate grocery shopping.
Me too.
Like, oh man, I hate it. Bright lights, and it's all like this horrible music, and you walk near the aisle that's got like the Febreze and stuff in it, and it's like I want to gag. But I think what it does is I think it's starting to make us You know, in the olden days, we would be like picking stuff or buying it from farmers or buying it,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
and then we went through this trend, and people still do, where we are so disconnected from our food.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Really, like,
Mhm.
you know, I always say to people, well, you know, they're like, oh, it sounds terrible about those animals. And I'm like, well, what do you think you're buying when you're picking up a package of meat? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't even realize, you know, that was a cow or that was chicken or that had a life.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't eat it. I'm saying that you should be aware of what you're eating, and
Yes.
and be really conscious
Yeah.
Mhm.
and appreciative. And
Right.
when you take the time to look at a label and go, oh, this doesn't seem right,
Mhm.
you're just, I think it's a contribution or a I don't know, I think it's more holism. Like, I think it's like you're taking control of your body, your dog's body, your cat's body, but we're also, it's like you're being more involved in your food,
Right.
Yeah.
which I
Right.
think we really need to be,
Right.
Yes.
rather
Right.
than shoving it in our mouths and having no idea what we're putting in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just conscious of your body, but conscious of the way animals are raised and the way they're processed. I mean, right, you know, back in the old days when I didn't think about all this, but now with a huge humanely raised and all the videos that are coming out and shows on Netflix, I don't just want to buy, you know,
Yeah.
if you're buying food for your animals, for example, I mean, if they're carnivores, they have to eat meat, but
Yeah,
you
sure.
want to have a buy from a company that at least buys humanely raised and processed meat,
Mhm.
because I mean, you don't want them suffering either. So you think of things
No.
like that now.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
so
you know,
weird.
it's crazy. So here's another story. I went to the, I usually buy organic free range chicken, right? And that's just me. And hopefully they're humanely raised. So I'm really picky that way. And one day I was having dinner with friends and I realized I don't have enough chicken. I need to run. So I told my husband, can you run to the store, grab more chicken? I don't think this is going to be enough. So he runs to the store, grabs the first thing because I was panicked. I'm like, do it quick. He comes back and it was a brand that was not organic, free range, whatever. He just grabbed it, right? When I opened that pack and it was chicken breast, I smelled antibiotic. I kid you not.
From the meat.
From the chicken.
Yeah.
Because I was so aware of it because I've been using organic free range chicken for so long
Yeah.
that when I cut it, I'm like, at first I thought somebody burped medicine beside me. You know, when somebody takes a medical something,
Antibiotics.
antibiotics,
Smell
and
it
you
and
smell
you
it when they burp. I'm like, did somebody just burp antibiotic beside me? Literally, I'm like, but nobody was around me. And I'm like, so I pick up the chicken and I smelled it. To my shock, it smelled like antibiotics. So
Yeah, it's
people,
in the meat.
and it's a very well-known chicken brand. I don't dare say the name, but now I'm so conscious. I'm like, oh my goodness, like I
Yeah.
can't use that chicken. But I just felt so bad. I'm like, holy cow! I
Yeah.
didn't even want my cats roaming around sniffing at it. I'm like, don't touch that chicken. You know, it's a raw chicken breast. Normally I'd be slicing it and giving them little bits of it. I'm like, yeah. And our bodies, especially our animals' bodies, are so sensitive. I mean, we can live to 90 or 80 years old, but they live to what, 12, 15, 18 years old. They don't have a very long lifespan. So whatever you put in their bodies, I'm always thinking it's really intense. I mean, they pack a lot of life in few years. So you want to make sure that antibiotic will hurt them eventually.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
Crazy.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our contribution to the world, and sort of, I think every single time you look at a label, you're saying that you're not just going to roll over and allow, you know, non-sustainability and allow, you know, the government to say that they can put, you know, anything and everything into
Right.
our food, right? We're just,
Right.
we're taking control. We're being more mindful. We're just being more conscientious and involved in our food, which I think is incredibly
Right.
important. So Steph, what else was, tell what else is there?
Let's talk about the benefits of coconut oil. I wanted to talk about why it's important about how your coconut oil is made, but you ladies really talked about that when you talked about how to choose coconut oil. when you talked about how it's pressed and how it's marketed with these gimmicky names. If you want to quickly go over that again, we can.
Yeah, I think, I don't know whether, no, but I don't, like, your coconut farm has been in your family for a while, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 So we've been in the coconut oil industry for 3 generations.
Mhm.
When we were kids, we used to watch my grandma make coconut oil in her kitchen, and she would never buy coconut oil. I mean, even back then, she always made it herself.
Yeah.
She just didn't trust the way the store-bought coconut oil, and she used it for everything. I mean, it was her medicine in a jar. She
Yeah.
just didn't cook with it, but she would put it in her hair and her skin. She used it on
Yeah.
when we had head lice. I remember once we had head lice, she was so mad, she put it like in her hair, but it killed the lice.
Oh yeah, better that than the lice,
The
whatever you put,
medication.
yeah.
And anytime we had, tummy ache or sores, anything, that she always took her coconut oil out, and we kind of took it for granted. I mean,
Yeah.
it was medicine for her. But even the farmers around us, they had pigs and cattle, and if they were sick, my grandma would give them coconut oil, or she'd give them the coconut,
The scraps from
the coconut
gratings.
Yeah, and it helped them with digestive issues. For example, if they had like diarrhea or they had digestive, it just helped. The farmers, I mean, they're not gonna like, oh, it's rich in medium chain fatty acids.
They
Don't know that. And, oh, it converts to short chain, so then it's a good prebiotic and it feeds your gut and blah blah blah. They don't know that. All they know is their cows and their pigs were well the next day, or they got better.
And I think in the rural areas too, a lot of those farmers, they don't run to the vet every time their farm animals are sick or whatever, and they don't want to buy antibiotics. Thank goodness,
they didn't.
And give it to their animals. So for some reason, for them, they saw that if you gave coconut and coconut oil, they got better, or they had a stronger immune system. So their animals were rarely sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
And lean
sick.
too. They weren't like fat.
Yeah.
So they're kind of lean animals.
So we grew up with that. And my grandma, she used to tell us that they're not all the same, which is why she always made her coconut oil. And just something that, like, even before we started CocoTherapy, our family would supply it to the pharmaceutical and nutraceutical industries to make lauric acid pills,
monolaurin,
monolaurin, or for the preemie baby foods that have medium chain fatty acids in it, or for foods that for gut health. I won't name the brands, but for people that have digestive issues that need high MCTs, so they would supply it to those industries. So. Our coconut oil has always been geared towards that. It's not geared for cooking, or.
And I don't know if people know this, but we started CocoTherapy just in 2009 because of Violet. Here she is. My little Violet is really my angel.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've had it in the family for so long. They did their coconut oil, and we just took it for granted. Yes, we would bring our bottle here because we knew it was good oil. We could taste the difference. And then when I got Violet, she was just a year old and she had allergies. Like she was just born that way with her immune system. So I was horrified. And then I brought her to a conventional vet. And of course, they gave her prednisone. So it worked because they were suppressing her immune system. But every time I tried to wean her off pred, it would come back. So I thought, oh man, I'm doomed. She's only a year old and she's already on pred. So then we're like, oh, you know what? We have this coconut oil. Let's start giving it. So we did everything I can. And little by little, we saw great improvement. And then we went to a
holistic
vet, Karen Becker, and she just basically knew about coconut oil. She was probably the first North American vet that when we went to knew about the benefits of MCTs, which was quite a surprise for us. So we're like, oh wow, so,
somebody other than my grandma.
My grandma was right after all.
That he said coconut oil was, healthy.
Yeah. So it's just something.
It was very validating, I think, for us to,
But the benefits, I think, what was the question that
Steph said, like, why is it important to find coconut oil or source or have good ones? Because
I think, what's the benefits of coconut?
Oh,
right.
You got
right.
it.
Well, see, it depends on the coconut oil first. Coconut oil is rich in medium chain fatty acids, which is lauric acid, caprylic, and capric acid. So if you get a good type of coconut oil, a good brand that's high in medium chain fatty acids, remember coconut oil, the medium chain fatty acids in coconut oil ranges anywhere from like 45 to up to 64%. So if you get one that's high in those medium chain fatty acids, it's got therapeutic benefits and therapeutic effects because it does help. It is antiviral, antifungal. It trains your immune system. It helps fight microbials, virus, yeast, you know, that sort of thing. I mean, mother's milk is rich in lauric acid. So those are the health benefits. It can help with allergies. It modulates your immune system. It helps with inflammation. But again, the most important thing is you have to get the coconut oil that is high in the medium chain fatty acids. That's really the most important thing.
Right. And I think one of the biggest benefits for me for coconut oil, especially the MCTs, are if you have an animal with a lipid disorder or they have a hard time processing fats, like pancreatitis. Her cat has pancreatitis. My other Yorkie had a protein leak using enteropathy, so she had to be very low fat diets. So there's a lot of vets that will put these animals on very low fat diets. The thing is, they can't really thrive on very low fat, zero fat. I mean, they start to fail in other ways, and then they can't get that energy, the cellular energy they need. So to me, one of the best benefits for oil or MCTs are the fact that they're so readily accepted by animals who can't process or tolerate fats. Just because their metabolic pathway is so much different from the long chain
fatty acids.
So that's for me the biggest.
And the other thing too that we see a lot, and I've seen this with my senior pets all throughout my life. It helps with a cognitive, you know, canine my cat right now who's 19, who, you know, he gets, and he's got pancreatitis, he gets a lot of our MCT oil because they've got the cognitive dementia thing going. MCTs actually feed the brain. It's the only fat that can cross the blood-brain barrier. So, I mean, you know, there's a ton of studies that show, especially within the last year or two, that MCT oils actually helps, you know, mitigate the seizures, and it feeds the brain, and it helps with the cognitive dementia. So there's a lot of health benefits to that as well.
Sure. And how do you guys process it?
So ours is always wet milled. So what they do is when wet milled. So the coconuts are harvested, and we open them the same day we harvest them. So we don't let them sit, because when you pick a coconut and it sits for a long time,
not even a long time,
well, a few days for sure, the water inside starts to ferment already, which is why that's how they make coconut wine. You want to see your baby. That's a big dog, I think. Not like one of ours. But so the water inside starts to ferment. So when you get a coconut in the grocery store, have you ever noticed when you open them, they've already leaked out and there's not a lot of water in there? People don't know this, but when you get a coconut from the grocery store, they actually inject them with a chemical in their eyes.
Coconuts have like there's 3 eyeballs at the top.
They inject it. I can't remember the name of it, and I knew it. I should have looked it up, but it actually keeps it from spoiling. It slows it down, but it is a chemical to keep it from fermenting, because within a day or so, that water will literally turn into wine type of thing. Because there is coconut wine and coconut alcohol and vinegars. So so what we do is we don't wait. I mean, literally within less 6 hours, we're opening it. So we only pick what we need, right? So they open it, they take the water, they save the water basically, and then they scrape the meat out. So the meat's fresh. And what happens is, so we press fresh coconut meat, and the milk that comes out, that's where the oil comes from.
It separates from the milk. So when you buy coconut oil, typically when they say it's processed from copra is dried coconut. So a majority of the coconut is processed from copra, meaning they scrape the meat of the coconut, then they dry it, like I said in the beginning, and then they reconstitute it with water. So that's what copra is. So wet milled is obviously the best way because it's not diluted with water, you know. So.
Interesting. Wow. I had no idea. Very cool. And ladies,
I had no idea.
No, me neither. And that chemical thing that they spray in at the grocery
Oh.
store, that's kind of weird too.
Yeah, they inject it in the eye of the coconut.
Those 3 little dots that you see in the coconut.
Yeah, before it leaves the
Wow.
country, before it leaves the Asia. Because I always wonder, how do they get coconuts in the grocery store and they're there and they're not
fermenting.
Yeah. But of course, I've opened them. I have bought coconuts in the grocery store and opened it. First of all, there's hardly any water.
Mhm.
It's like, I'm so excited. The first time I came here and I saw coconuts, I'm like, oh, coconuts, let me buy some. So I got one, opened it up, and I was like, let me get a big glass of coconut water. To my horror, it was like that much water. I'm like, where's
so dried
the
out.
coconut water? It was hardly any. And then when I tasted it, I'm like, it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
So I was so shocked.
Disappointed, really.
Yeah, and then that's when it started to think, oh man, it didn't travel well or whatever. Then I found out they actually inject something to keep the water from, or the
Coconut
turning
from
or whatever.
fermenting.
Yeah.
That's gross.
But
Yeah.
in the Philippines, if you get one of those coconuts and you open it, wow, there's a lot of water, and it
water.
can literally fill jugs. And it tastes so different.
Really?
Well, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can't drink coconut water here, not even from the coconuts, because it tastes very different.
Mhm. It's different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it
Wow.
looks like we've got a lot of questions. Is there more stuff? What else?
We do.
What else?
I've got one more question, Julie. I want to know, did I freeze you guys?
I'm not freezing.
Oh, am I still
you?
here? Okay. I've got one more question. How do we properly use coconut oil in our own and our animals' diets?
Okay, that's a good question.
Mhm,
Typically what we say for the virgin coconut oil is half a teaspoon to a teaspoon per 10 pounds, depending on the tolerance of the dog. That's a general rule of thumb.
Mhm.
And some dog can tolerate more, some you would do it less. Now or else a tablespoon for 30 pounds, obviously. Now, when the dog is about 90 pounds, 90 to 100 pounds, you wouldn't go, you don't keep doing
You
the
don't
math
keep
and
adding
then
the
they're giving-
math and giving like a whole jar for a dog for a
200-pound dog.
for a 200-pound dog.
So
So
usually 90 to 100 pound is like the max,
and I'll
like the
say-
human
yeah.
weight.
Yeah,
human
so
weight.
I'll
say give about 3 tablespoons. Once your dog's at 90 pounds, 3 tablespoons probably adequate for him. And for people, even like a grown man, we've had people ask us, how much coconut oil should I take so I get the benefits? I will say, if you can handle 3 tablespoons of coconut oil every day, go for it.
Yeah.
And of course it depends, everybody's different. So for me, I will do about 2 to 3 tablespoons. But what I do actually is I'll take our MCT in the morning and I'll do the virgin coconut oil
at night.
at night.
Yeah.
So you can add it in their food, or if they'll lick it straight off a spoon. Obviously, if your dog has never had coconut oil before, you wouldn't start at that level. You would just start a few licks because they have to get used to the fat in their diet. It's kind of like if you haven't had a hamburger in a long time, you suddenly eat a hamburger, it's going to upset your tummy. The same concept.
Yeah.
But orally is, I think, the best way, but it's fantastic topically.
Yeah.
If your dog has red spots, or if I see anything suspicious on my cat, or they're starting to get little things on their chin, I'm just rubbing coconut oil and literally it's gone. Even for myself, if I have something on my body, I'm rubbing coconut oil and it's literally gone.
Mosquito bites, or we use it as a grooming tool. Clean their ears, brush their teeth, put it on their paw pads. So it's for a whole host of uses. For ourselves, we put it in our hair, we take our makeup off with it.
Oil pull is fantastic for anybody who
great.
hasn't gotten to. Do you oil pull, Julie? Have you tried it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a
It really
commitment.
is. It's
Yeah. It definitely is a commitment, but when I started doing it, I could see, I used to get a lot of migraines and a lot of headaches. So when I read Bruce Fife's book on oil pulling, I thought, let me try this, because I went on this thing, like I kept taking Excedrin, and the more I took Excedrin, the more I needed to take it. I'm like, I have to do something about this. So I heard that oil pulling helped people with migraines. So that's the reason why I started. So I would get a tablespoon and put it in my mouth and just swish it around. It should be 20 minutes in the morning, people think it's ridiculously long, but it's amazing how fast 20 minutes goes by. The first thing I do when I wake up is put it in my mouth and I start swishing, and I do other things like you wash my face, you know, go to the bathroom, feed the cats, whatever. Next thing you know, 20 minutes is over. Then I spit it out, not in the sink, but in the trash. And when I started doing that, I literally felt better, just little by little. Just I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. Like the brain fog, I felt like I was pulling toxins out of my body.
Well, your mouth is responsible for a huge dogs, cats, whatever. Your mouth is a huge mass of bacteria, right? Yeah. Bacteria and toxins.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you do that, you're pulling it out of your body, right? That where you're constantly swallowing it.
Yes. Yes. So it's really, I try and do it as regularly as I can. And I've come to the point where I actually enjoy it. It's like brushing my teeth. It's the first thing I do in the morning. I just have a jar of coconut oil and a tablespoon the night before.
Has it made a difference? Have you noticed
without a doubt,
it made a difference with you?
Without a doubt. Yeah. Yes. So no, I stopped getting migraines. After a while I stopped. So I've been thinking, was my brain so inflamed? What was going on in my head? You know, my brain that was giving me those migraines. But I'd rather do that than have to take, go down this path of constantly taking Excedrin. But yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, yeah. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Okay, Steph.
I'm going to try that too. I get migraines occasionally. And Donna here in the comments is saying oil pulling for her is like a cup of coffee. It totally regenerates me. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's good. And when I talk to people and they're like, there's no way I'm going to do that for 20 minutes. I'll say, you know what, start at 5 first and then build up. And you're so used to it. And then go 10 and go 15, just start it. But believe me, when I'm reading the paper, I'm checking email on my phone, and you don't have to go put a big glob and, like that. Just relax your mouth and just kind of swish it, relax your jaw. And so I've even jumped in the shower with oil in my mouth. And then when you get out, just don't swallow it. Just remember to spit it out in your trash when you're done. Yeah. And it's so easy. It's peaceful.
That's a big one. You swallow it when you're swallowing all the toxins.
Yeah.
Right. You're swallowing all the toxins if you swallow it. Right. So yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I know someone that was doing it, and they're like, well, I'm not going to waste it. I'm just going to swallow it, and then it's good for me. And I'm like, no, it's not good for you to swallow. It's like the whole opposites.
Oh my goodness.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's funny. No, a lot of phlegm comes out. So.
Wow. All right. Shall we do a speed round with questions, everyone?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Real quick, Michelle here, there was a couple in the comments in the chat. Can you tell us MCT oil? How is that different from coconut oil?
That's a good question. I always say that MCT oil is like coconut oil on steroids. Well, steroids is not the best word you want to use right now. Yeah. But coconut oil is 63% medium chain fats, and then the rest CocoTherapy. CocoTherapy is mainly 63 medium chain fats and then 37 long chain fatty acids, 37%. MCT oil is 93%. MCT. Medium chain fat. Yeah, medium chain fat. So it has a lot more medium chain triglycerides in it, and it's just easier for your digestive system to process, and it stays liquid. And the reason why it stays liquid is it's higher in capric and caprylic acid. Those two medium chain fats, capric and caprylic, are smaller MCT molecules. And because they're smaller, your liver can process them a lot quicker. So, and it's less stress on the animals, especially those with lipid disorders. That's why MCT is a better, easier fat for them to handle. And a lot of MCTs out in the market does not contain lauric acid. And to us, it's important to have some lauric acid. So our MCT oil does have lauric acid. it's a little bit lower than a virgin coconut oil because we want it to stay liquid.
No, well, the bottom line is MCT oil has a higher level of capric and caprylic acid and lower lauric acid, and virgin coconut oil has higher lauric acid and lower caprylic and capric acid. So that's, you know, the breakdown of the MCTs are also very different.
And the reason why people will take an MCT oil is because your liver processes it so quickly and converts it to ketones very quickly, it can go to the brain and help the brain, which is why MCT oils are so good for seizure dogs
or cognitive dementia. And or they would use it for instant boost of energy because the caprylic and capric acid is converted to ketones in about an hour or an hour and a half. So very quickly. So dogs that are athletic dogs or convalescent dogs that need energy rapidly, you'll get it a lot more rapid with the MCT oil as opposed to the virgin coconut oil. But because we do have lauric acid in ours, now lauric acid being a larger molecule is converted to ketones at a much slower rate. So it's converted to ketones at 3 hours. However, it also lasts a lot longer. It lasts up to 8 hours in your blood, whereas caprylic and capric gets burnt out in about 3 hours. So, you know, it sustains at a much longer rate. So it depends on the need of the dog.
Yeah, and finding the balance of what works for your animal. Marsha's Gracie is thriving on MCT, CocoTherapy MCT. That's awesome. All right, here we go. Questions. Robin is wondering about one of your products, if you don't mind. How do you recommend using Hairball Plus for a 13-year-old cat who is prone to a hairball?
Okay, now cats are very finicky creatures, you know.
There's Ollie.
Oh, there he is. So some of them are love it, and for the ones that love it, we recommend, you know, mix it in the food. Mix it, so typically we tell them to sprinkle it in their food, and we always recommend
teaspoon per 10 pounds.
Yeah, a teaspoon for 10 pounds, and wet food. I mean, we don't. It's not really good in kibble. I think it's better wet because it's really high in fiber as well. If you give it dry, if the cat will eat it dry, then make sure there's plenty of water.
Cats like it.
But
make sure there's water.
Basically, mix it in the food. Now, if the cat is super picky and doesn't want to eat it, then obviously start with a pinch and put it in the cat's, you know, high value food, like mix it in tuna or with tuna water or sardines or fish of some sort, or of canned some kind, food. You know, their favorite food, and then little by little just keep adding a little bit more of the hairball. It doesn't smell very strong. You know, cats are just so different. You know, they can tell a drop of something. But eventually they'll get used to it, and then
we know some cats who are so addicted to their coconuts.
It depends on the cat.
It depends. My cats love it. I shake the thing
and they come running.
So
Incredible.
No hairballs, thank goodness.
Awesome. Okay, here's another question from our Facebook crew. Rebecca's asking, is it available in Canada?
Yes.
Yeah, it should be.
We have distributors
in Canada. I'm not quite sure where it's available.
Yeah, we're working with 2 distributors in Canada. They bring our products in, so they sell it in different pet stores. And what are some of the pet stores?
I don't even know.
In Canada.
Tell them the distributors in the best thing is to put the distributor in the
there you go.
Not the CocoTherapy, but they're distributors. They're Canadian distributors.
Yeah.
If you put that, tell us what they are, and we'll put that in the chat. And then you phone the distributors and you ask the distributors what stores in your area carry it.
That's definitely a good way to do it. I like to say Bone and Biscuit, but I don't know. Is that a store in Canada? Bone and Biscuit? Yeah. Now, again, it depends on the store, but I think that's one store that kind of comes to my mind.
Yeah. And you know what, ladies? Eric beat me to it here. He just put the link in the chat there. So thank you, Eric. Where to buy. Appreciate that. And I'll add that on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eric. Bonus points for you. And I've got, my Siri. What's better for a dry coat? Would you recommend MCT or regular coconut oil? Kelly's asking.
I would say regular, the virgin coconut oil. I would. And when you have a dry coat, a lot of people think, oh, the coat's dry, so let's put it on the coat. That's fine too. I mean, it will work, but actually feeding coconut oil in the food will actually help moisturize the skin as well. Carissa had a dog, two dogs, well, Violet and Camille. Funny, they were both 4 pounds. She would give one a heck of a lot more coconut oil than the other, because Violet, when she got coconut oil, she only needed a little bit and her coat would just be so greasy. Like her coat and skin would be really greasy. So
Did we freeze?
I can see you. Can you see me?
I see you, Julie, but I think I lost Chris and Carmina.
I know they froze.
Shoot, yeah, we
I
did,
either.
Marcia, thanks. That's okay. I have a couple. Also, Kim has a question. Let's just give Carmina and Carissa a sec here to refresh.
I'm going to text them.
Okay. Helen, good. You got the answers about the MCT. Awesome. I'm curious to look at the distributors too. Appreciate that, Eric.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they'll be back.
Yeah.
And we've got time for a few more questions here. All great questions tonight. What a mind-blowing session. I didn't know that it took a coconut a year to ripen.
I had no idea there was that much liquid in it.
No, me neither. And you know what? I've bought coconuts here too and tasted the water from the grocery store, and it does have that little bit of fermentation, or sometimes it almost tastes like sparkling a bit. I have tasted that, and that's what they were saying, that by the time they get here, they lose all the liquid and they can tend to ferment.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Oh, Robin, did we talk about how to use it as toothpaste? No, we didn't, but we put together a recipe that is partnered with CocoTherapy. We use their coconut oil, our pre and probiotic blends, and you can make your own dental paste to use with your animals. I can send you the recipe. Just shoot me an email, steph@adoredbeast.com, or you can join our Facebook group, the Adored Beast Collective, and I have it posted in there as well. Let me post the Facebook group for everyone if you want to hang out in there with us.
They're saying that they're trying to get back on.
Oh, well, I hope they can. If not, we'll have to have them back.
Yeah, and also, with how we use the love bugs and the yogurt mask.
Yeah.
You can also mix the CocoTherapy and love bugs and massage that into their coat, and then leave it on and rinse it off.
I like that. That's smart.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really interchangeable. They were even saying you can use it topically for cuts, scrapes. They use it in their hair. They remove their makeup with it. Yeah. It's a versatile product, and it's natural.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And caprylic acid is incredible for yeast. It's amazing for yeast.
Is that right?
It's one of the few things that really will kill yeast. So it's an important one.
Julie,
go ahead.
Do you remember they said the MCT oil was the one that's highest in the caprylic acid, if I remember correctly?
Yes.
I believe so, yeah. I'm just going to resend them.
Caprolate, yeah. And then lauric acid in the actual virgin coconut oil.
Right. I'm just resending.
What other questions are in a question and answer?
Yes. Kim has a question. It's about her father-in-law. It's a human question. He's got the signs of dementia, and she's asking, would he benefit from the MCT more than the coconut oil? Also, do you know if it's safe to use with Coumadin, which is a blood thinner?
Right. You'll have to ask them about that, but definitely it is helpful for dementia.
Yeah, I do remember them mentioning that.
Yeah.
Eric's got a question about their products. I'll ask that when they join us again. Joy wants to know, when cooking with coconut oil, do you lose nutritional value?
I think you have to ask them that, but I think it's important to cook at a certain temperature, but I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, Julie. I remember towards the beginning of the session, they said something about once you get over 200 or 250 degrees, it starts to break down and you lose the value there.
Mm-hmm.
Joy, good question. Beth.
Oh, that's bad.
I know. Beth's asking, would you recommend coconut oil or MCT for a dog with random unexplained allergies, including hives? I think that would be the topical coconut oil.
No, it would be internal, because hives are
from the inside out.
Hives are histamine, right?
Right.
You know what I like doing is alternating them, rotating them, because then you're giving both of the benefits. Like you give one and a week of the other one.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. And then you'll be able to see too, right? Especially if it's hives. If you did the MCT, see how it did, and then did the for a week or 10 days, and then switch over and did the same thing.
Yeah, that's smart. Always rotate it. Keep it diverse. That's your mantra.
MCT is acute. Yeah, well, it works faster, right?
Yeah, that's what they were saying. 1 hour.
A lot faster.
Awesome, Beth. Good. Awesome, Beth. All right. I have a link to share that.
You know what else I wanted to say to that person too, that might be helpful too. The MCT with the hives is that histamine is regulated. A large part of histamine is regulated in the liver. So an MCT is easier to process in the liver, right, than the regular.
So you'd start there.
I would.
Awesome. Perfect. Beth said, great, got it. Gonna start tomorrow morning. I've got a link that I want to share. Charisa and Carmina gave it to me. It's a blog post about differentiating fake oils and helping you determine when you're choosing and shopping. So I'll put that in the chat, and I'll also put it on Facebook for everyone.
That's good.
Marsha's Gracie gets MCT 2 times a day. I want to start using that too, actually.
It's really good for you.
Yeah. So if these ladies don't hop on in the next couple minutes, you know what? I'll email the rest of the questions that are waiting, and I'll pop the answers into our Facebook group, the Adored Beast Collective, tomorrow. Tomorrow or when I hear back from them, and then we can continue the conversation there. What do you think?
Yeah, and we can put it on Facebook and stuff, put their answers, the answers to their questions on Facebook.
Yeah, let's do that.
But it's an incredible product. Like, I won't use any other coconut oil because I'm too nervous.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if I'm using it therapeutic. Like she said, it's different if you're cooking or using it on your hands or whatever. But yeah, if you're using it therapeutic, you want to make sure it's a good oil.
Yeah, absolutely. Julie, any takeaways?
No, maybe just what I said before, it's like, don't look at being so anal about making sure that what you're putting into your dog's body or your cat's body or your family's body, don't look at it as extra work. Look at it as a symbiotic relationship that you're having with your food, rather than it being, oh, there they are.
All right, we got the ladies back. Very nice. Thanks, ladies. Test. Can you hear us okay? Test.
We can see you, but we can't hear you.
That's okay. These two are tech ninjas. You should have seen them behind the scenes here, getting things set up. Yes, they are. There we go. We can hear you just fine.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, we hear you.
probably can't hear us. Doesn't look like they can hear us.
Yeah,
Wait, I can't.
we hear you.
You know what? Oh, because
I'm gonna
the mic. You want to plug in a mic, Rich? No, because
Kathy, thank you.
microphone.
Marcia,
Oh.
thank you too.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, thank
Okay,
goodness.
finally.
Yeah. Sorry about, wow, don't we just love technology?
That's okay. We're
Can
happy you made
hear
it back.
us? I
We're on
don't
a
know.
different computer now. Her other one, something's
I don't know what happened to
lost
it.
connection.
Yeah.
But we were
Weird.
hearing you on Facebook, and we could hear some of the questions, but I can't remember what the questions are anymore.
That's
Can
okay.
you hear us now?
We do. We can hear
Oh,
you.
okay, good.
I told you, Julie, they're tech ninjas, these two.
No, we're not.
All right. So Kim has a question. It's human related. If you feel comfortable answering it, that would be great. Her father-in-law is starting to show signs of dementia. Do you think he could benefit from MCT more so than coconut oil? Do you think it's safe to use with blood thinners?
Yes, it's definitely safe because coconut oil doesn't thin your blood like, say, omega-3s could be blood thinners. Coconut oil will not do that. Because I've heard of Alzheimer's patients, they just use the virgin coconut oil because lauric acid is the most powerful. If your liver does not convert lauric acid to ketones, the lauric acid can actually cross blood-brain barrier and convert it to brain ketones.
In the brain.
So
Yeah.
we really like virgin coconut oil for dementia and take a lot of it. I had an uncle who would literally take
Half a cup.
A
Every
fourth to a
day.
half. And in the Philippines, it's liquid because it's hot there. And I remember he has a teacup. So he puts it in there and he just chugs the whole thing down. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know.
But he's
It's a
so
lot.
used to it.
Yeah.
But start that, the incidence of Alzheimer's and dementia in the Philippines is very low. You see a lot of very sharp, old people over there. So, must be helping.
Yeah. But there are studies. I think there's a neurologist, and you can Google this. There's a neurologist that actually had a husband with Alzheimer's, and she started giving coconut oil to her husband.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, and then when they did that clock test, that they do for Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
it actually reversed a lot of the signs of the Alzheimer's. So definitely, we would say the virgin coconut oil.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Eric's got a product question here. Can you talk about he's asking, I'm going to save that one for the last. We talked about nutritional value. Joy wanted to know, when cooking with coconut oil, do you lose nutritional value?
Coconut oil is one of the safest. I had that same question. Somebody asked me about that. You don't, just make sure you stay at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. So I like to use it for flash sauteing or a quick cooking. I mean, I don't like to singe my foods anyway. So it will still be
safe.
Very healthy. Yeah, very safe. And it doesn't oxidize the way
Cooked
corn
fats.
oil
Yeah.
or those other fats, the polyunsaturated fats will. So I think it's one of the safest oils to cook with.
Because coconut oil being a saturated fat and having the double bonds, it actually doesn't oxidize. It doesn't go rancid quickly, even in heat. So it's actually very stable.
It doesn't
Awesome.
have the double bonds, it's single bonds.
Yeah.
Susie, hi Susie. She's got a question. Could you use MCT directly in the ears of a super yeasty animal?
Yes, you can. I would clean the ears with a little bit. I mean, don't pour it in, but maybe get a cotton cotton ball or whatever, and then dip it in and then clean it out daily, maybe even twice a day. Yeah.
And you have a video on your Facebook page. Actually, I watched you two use the oil actually to clean your dog's ears, I believe.
Oh yeah.
For in that video, we use the virgin coconut oil because we're just using it for cleaning
but
For maintenance.
For maintenance, but caprylic acid is actually really is a antifungal.
Yeah,
So
that's the yeast killer.
yeah.
Caprylic
A
acid.
lot of antifungal medications contain caprylic acid.
Awesome. Perfect. Last question. Can you tell
Yeah.
us the difference between CocoTherapy Hairball Plus and CocoTherapy chips?
They're made the same. The Hairball Plus is defatted less. So when we scrape out the coconut meat and we press it, you press the milk out. So we don't press as much. We keep a little bit more oil in the hairball just because we feel hairballs need the oil and the fiber to push it out. They're very, very similar, but just a little bit more oil,
fat,
more fat
oil.
in the cat.
And the cat.
So you can take both. There's cats who will do our chips and fantastic with a hairball. It helps with hairball, or vice versa. Some people will give their dogs the hairball just because they want more oil in their fiber. So yeah.
Incredible. So it can go dog or cat. It works either way. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That is the end of our questions. We made it through them. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you, ladies, for making your way back to us. We're very grateful that you joined us tonight.
Thank you so much for having us. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about the whole glitch thing.
Oh, don't apologize. No need to apologize.
That's all right. It's not. But who said it's not successful unless you have a pitch?
It was Billy
Someone
Hokeman.
said that.
Billy Hokeman.
I think so.
Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining
And
us.
when
Thank
you were
you.
gone, I was saying that. When you were gone, I was saying that it's the only one that I'll use.
Aw, thank you.
CocoTherapy is the only one that I'll use. Yeah.
Aw, thank you. That means a lot coming from you. It really does. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you to our attendees for hanging out. And thank you to our lovely panelists. We'll see you again. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Good night. Good night.